Chris Smith is the chief of police of Covington, Virginia, and he joins us today to talk about a children's advocacy center. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Jerry.
And as I understand it, Chief, this is an opportunity for individuals to speak with children that have had problems with either parents or loved ones, and they're somewhat traumatized. And this gives you an opportunity to deal with this situation locally, as opposed to kids being taken off in a faraway place and being totally unsettled.
Yeah, so we've been utilizing the program for a while, but the problem that we've had was we have to generally have the victims in these particular cases drive to the locations, which have been in Roanoke or Stanton. Essentially, the program is designed to try to not victimize children any more than they already have been. And, an hour-long travel time is just making things more difficult on the victims, at least here locally, and not to also as well include, let's say, Bath County or Craig County. Any one of these agencies have that availability because these are regional. But we finally were able to get one here, which allows both the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department to conduct these interviews with these victimized children in a controlled, safe environment with a trained specialist, so that we can get the information that we need to be able to prosecute the criminals or the offenders down the road.
So when you interview a youthful victim, do you have another specialist with you so that the questions are appropriate, or is this, how does it all work?
So the individuals, actually the detectives that may be involved with the case, they won't interview the child. So every time that you speak with any individual who's ever been victimized of a crime, every time you ask them, basically how or to describe what happened, essentially they're having to relive whatever that bad experience is. We try to minimize that, even with adults. But when you're dealing with children specifically, of course, you're limited on the availability of the information because kids tend to change their stories and do stuff and alter maybe, or they could be essentially being influenced by the offender themselves. So there's a short opportune time to gather that information, and these trained specialists go in a very safe area, a safe room, which now we have one here in this area, and essentially allows them to interview the child in a controlled environment, and an environment that is not going to be influential it's not going to influence the child themselves, because we want the truth, right? We don't want a fabrication. Sure. And we come across that. So it's a very difficult process, but, the folks from the Valley CAC, they're trained to do this, and we allow them to do the interviews. We get the information, we record the information. We basically bring what we get to the prosecutor, Commonwealth Attorney's Office. The good part is, it's designed so that, there is there's no coercion on our end or our part. The trained specialist is able to make sure that the questions don't lead the children into any way or anything like that. So it's a really good program. I like it. I'm definitely in support of it. Because it allows us to do our job that much easier.
And how is this all funded? I mean, this is really cool to have something like that in our area, as opposed to having to go way off, 50, 80 miles away. Yeah. Is it grant funded, or how does this all work?
Well, to be honest with you, I couldn't actually answer that question. Okay. I didn't, the localities that were involved provided the space, all the other stuff, that was inside that room. They basically had to build it. Funds came from somewhere. I know that regardless of the fact of how it's paid for, it's 100% free to the victims themselves. So there's no special cost that goes to the victims. Essentially, I would assume the taxpayer pays for it in some way, shape, or form.
Sure. And so now you're up and running now. I mean, if you had a victim, you could even interview them in the next day or week or so?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Obviously, it's not it's not a 8-hour day manned facility. So you set up an appointment for the individual and they'll drive to a location. But what it does, like I said, it does offer a location a lot closer than like us going to Roanoke or having to go to Stanton. So it provides another space. So yeah, I mean, essentially, if they could set up the appointment, the individual could make it and do it here. And it's not, of course, just for our area. I know that the sheriff's department actually had already conducted, I think, at least 3 interviews at that location. So, but Bath County can use it. Craig County, Highland County, whatever they feel is a lot closer to minimize the traumatization to the child. That facility is now part of that network and will allow for localities to get these interviews conducted. I believe as well, it might be even something that law enforcement agencies in our neighboring West Virginia might be able to use as well. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Well, thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us today.
I appreciate it, Jerry. Thank you.